Hello and welcome. It's 2 p.m. India time or 8:30 GMT, and it's 11:30 in the morning in Riyadh, where Saudi Arabia's defense ministry has presented what it claims is evidence of Iran's involvement in the Aramco attacks that rocked global markets. The briefing was conducted by the ministry's spokesperson, Colonel Turki Al-Maliki, yesterday. The media briefing started with the official presenting the debris, which he claimed was evidence of Iranian aggression. He went on to reveal that 18 drones and 7 cruise missiles, a total of 25 weapons, were struck from a direction that ruled out Yemen as its source. Now, Saudi Arabia further claimed that Iranian-made drones called Delta Wing participated in the attack and that the drones were flying from north to south.
First of all, I would like to assert the kingdom's capacity to defend its critical infrastructure. In the light of this recent event, however, I will also take a moment to emphasize the destabilizing role Iran and its proxy play
على الدور التخريبي الذي تلعبه إيران وأذرعها في هذه المنطقة وحول العالم. منذ بداية الانقلاب المدعوم إيرانيا في المنطقة شهدنا على نمو ملحوظ في العدوان الإيراني والذي وصل إلى الهجوم من الشمال قبل عدة أيام. إن هذا الهجوم لم يكن ضد المملكة العربية السعودية ولا ضد شركة أرامكو السعودية، ولكنه كان هجوما على المجتمع الدولي، محاولة متعمدة لتعطيل الاقتصاد العالمي وقطاع الطاقة. كان هذا الاعتداء مضادا للقانون الدولي، والمسؤولون يجب أن يحاسبوا على أفعالهم. إن اعتداء إيران المستمر ودعمها للمجموعات الإرهابية وتدخلها.
For now, Saudi Arabia says details of launch points could not be given, but once they are determined, they will be announced at another news conference. Meanwhile, U.S. Foreign Minister Mike Pompeo met with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to discuss about strategy on this issue. Pompeo called the attack an act of war and said that the U.S. defends Saudi Arabia's right to defend itself. And a security expert, Joel Whittaker, now joins me live from London. Joel, thank you for joining us on WION World is One. Now, first up, what is the nature and scale of the material evidence which has been shared by Saudi Arabia so far? What's your take on it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think first of all we should just mention that this is only Saudi's take and the US take on
right,
on the missiles and the drones. So we've only got one side of the story, really. But their take on it is that they are, well, as you know, 25, as you mentioned earlier on, 25 attacks in total, and I think around 18 of those were drone strikes. And what's quite interesting, of course, is that Saudi already have a really good and advanced defence system and air defence system in place. It was provided by the US. They've got Patriot surface-to-air missiles, able to defend installations, from the air apparently, but in this instance they seem to have failed. So it's quite interesting that the air defences weren't quite up to speed.
Also, Joel, now the Saudis have claimed there were 25 attacks using UAVs and cruise missiles, although some of them were recovered unused. Now, is the damage proportional to the scale of material exhibited?
Yeah, and again, we're looking at evidence that's presented from really just one side at the moment, but from what we can see, it seems to be proportionate. I mean, the majority of these attacks were carried out by UAVs or drones. These drones, they've got a limited payload. They can't actually deliver too much explosive. And the distances involved, of course, are quite far. If we look at if the missiles indeed were fired from Iraq, you're possibly looking at 500 kilometres. If it's Iran, then slightly less, at around 300 kilometres. And if those missiles were actually fired from Yemen, well, that's quite unlikely due to the distances, but it's possibly 1,000 kilometres. And why this is important is the payload, the amount of explosive that are in these drones. It's a small amount anyway, but when you're having to deliver a drone over vast distances, of course, the more weight it is, the more fuel it uses. And so to gain distance, you need to reduce the weight, and you reduce the weight by reducing explosive content. Explosives quite heavy. And so it would seem to be proportionate.
All right. And what signals does it send for such infrastructure or installations the world over?
Well, quite worrying, of course. I mean, to keep this in Saudi for now, the infrastructure in Saudi, a lot of it is above the ground because the desert is hard, it's compacted. And so if you look at the water infrastructure, the water pipelines in Saudi, they're very exposed to continuing attacks from other countries.
All right, on that note, Joel Whittaker in London, thank you so much for sharing your insights into this developing story. Appreciate it.